Marcus Jackson, a 16-year-old boy from the bustling streets of Chicago, carried the dreams of a young scientist in his heart. His neighborhood, filled with boarded-up shops and graffiti-covered walls, was a daily reminder of the challenges he faced. Despite the environment, Marcus had a spark in his eyes that only lit up when he tinkered with broken gadgets. His small room was a makeshift lab cluttered with old radios, wires, and scrap metal he'd scavenged from dumpsters. Marcus had always been drawn to science. He would spend hours watching videos about space exploration, renewable energy, and technological breakthroughs. His idol was Elon Musk, a man who had turned impossibilities into reality. Musk's journey inspired Marcus to believe that he, too, could someday make an impact on the world. But life wasn't easy for Marcus. His school, underfunded and overcrowded, lacked the resources to nurture bright minds like his. Teachers often dismissed him, seeing his enthusiasm as naive or unrealistic. "Dream smaller, Marcus," his science teacher once said with a smirk. "Kids like you don't build rockets." The weight of racism wasn't new to Marcus either. At a recent science fair, he had proudly displayed a solar-powered phone charger he'd built using spare parts. His peers marveled at his ingenuity, but the judges seemed unimpressed. One of them, a middle-aged man in a crisp suit, barely glanced at Marcus's project before awarding the prize to a sleek but less innovative design. "It's good, for someone from your background," the judge had said, his condescension thinly veiled. The sting of those words stayed with Marcus, but he refused to let them define him. Every evening he worked tirelessly, sketching out ideas for more ambitious projects. His dream was to create affordable energy solutions for underserved communities. Yet, as passionate as he was, Marcus couldn't ignore the limitations imposed by his circumstances. At home, Marcus's mother, Denise, was his pillar of support. A single parent working 2 jobs, Denise often came home exhausted, but she never failed to encourage her son. "Baby, you've got a gift," she would say, her voice brimming with pride. "Don't let anyone tell you otherwise." Marcus treasured those moments, even as he saw the sacrifices his mother made to keep their family afloat. One evening, as Marcus scrolled through YouTube, he stumbled upon a video of Elon Musk speaking about innovation. "The future belongs to those who dare to dream," Musk said. Those words struck a chord deep within Marcus. He felt an overwhelming urge to reach out, to share his story with the man who had inspired him for years. Taking out an old notebook, Marcus began writing a letter to Musk. He poured his heart onto the page, describing his passion for science, the obstacles he faced, and his desire to make a difference. He ended the letter with a simple plea: "All I need is a chance to prove myself." When he finished, Marcus tucked the letter into an envelope and mailed it, though a part of him doubted it would ever reach Musk. Still, the act of writing gave him hope, a flicker of light in the midst of darkness. Little did Marcus know, his life was about to change in ways he could never have imagined. Days turned into weeks, and Marcus's life fell back into its routine. School was as discouraging as ever, filled with teachers who dismissed him and classmates who didn't understand his drive. Yet he clung to the hope that someone somewhere might read his letter and see the potential he saw in himself. At school, Marcus had poured his heart into creating a new science project, a rudimentary solar-powered water purifier made from salvaged materials. In his mind, it was more than a project. It was proof that brilliance could emerge even from a place with no resources. He eagerly presented his idea to the school's administration, hoping it would earn him a spot in a regional competition. But the response was cold and dismissive. "This is interesting, Marcus," the principal said with a polite but hollow tone. "Unfortunately, our school's budget for extracurriculars is already stretched thin. Maybe next time." Marcus left the office with his project in hand, his head bowed but his spirit unbroken. He felt the familiar sting of rejection, not because his work wasn't good enough, but because the system wasn't designed to support kids like him. At home, Marcus shared his frustration with his mother. Denise listened intently, her hands still sore from hours of folding laundry at her second job. "Baby, I know it's hard," she said, pulling him into a hug, "but you can't give up. Remember, diamonds are made under pressure." Her words gave Marcus some comfort, but the weight of his circumstances was growing heavier by the day. One evening, Marcus was in his makeshift lab, tinkering with his solar-powered purifier, when the electricity flickered and went out. It wasn't the first time their neighborhood had experienced power outages, but this one felt particularly cruel. With no light to work by, Marcus sat in the dark, feeling the creeping doubt that maybe the world wasn't ready for someone like him. His mother lit a candle and sat beside him. "You know," she began, her voice soft yet firm, "when I was your age, I dreamed of becoming a teacher. But life had other plans. Now I see that my dream lives on in you. You're going to change the world, Marcus. I believe that. Her unwavering faith in him was the spark he needed to keep going, even when everything else felt like it was falling apart. The next day at school, Marcus overheard some classmates talking about him. Why does he even bother? One said. No one from around here makes it big. The words stung, but they also fueled his determination. Marcus decided he wouldn't let their negativity define his future. Inspired by his mother's resilience, Marcus started refining his solar-powered purifier, determined to make it even better. He worked late into the night, using whatever materials he could find. Despite the setbacks, he poured his heart into every detail, imagining the lives his invention could improve. Yet, as time went on, Marcus couldn't shake the feeling that his dreams were slipping further out of reach. The regional competition came and went, and he wasn't even allowed to submit his work. He felt invisible, as if the world had decided his potential didn't matter. One night, while scrolling through his phone, Marcus saw the video of Elon Musk again. Musk's words echoed in his mind. The future belongs to those who dare to dream. It reminded Marcus of the letter he'd sent weeks ago, a letter he had almost forgotten. For a fleeting moment, Marcus wondered, what if Musk never reads it? The thought was disheartening, but he quickly shook it off. Even if he doesn't, I'll find another way, Marcus whispered to himself. What Marcus didn't know was that his letter had already found its way into the hands of someone who would change his life forever. It was a Tuesday when Marcus's life took an unexpected turn. He had just come home from school, tired and disheartened by yet another disappointing day. He slumped into his chair, scrolling aimlessly through his phone, when an unfamiliar notification popped up in his inbox. It was from Elon Musk's team. Marcus's heart raced as he opened the email, unable to believe what he was reading. The subject line read, "Your letter to Elon Musk, a chance to make a difference," and the message inside was simple yet powerful. Dear Marcus, thank you for your thoughtful letter. Elon was deeply moved by your story and is impressed by your passion for innovation. We'd like to offer you an opportunity to connect with Elon and discuss your project. We believe you have the potential to make a real impact. Please let us know your availability for a virtual meeting in the coming days. Best regards, Elon Musk's team. For a moment, Marcus sat frozen, staring at the screen as his mind struggled to comprehend what he had just read. Was this real? His fingers trembled as he read the email over and over again, unsure if it was a dream or a cruel joke. But no, this was real. After years of feeling invisible, Marcus felt the weight of the world lift off his shoulders. His heart raced as he quickly typed a reply, confirming his availability for a meeting. Within minutes, he received a follow-up message with the details. Marcus had never imagined that this day would come, that he, a young black teenager from a rough neighborhood, would have the chance to speak with one of the most influential people on the planet. That evening, he barely slept. His mind was racing with thoughts of what he would say to Elon Musk. He knew that this was the moment that could change everything, the opportunity he had been waiting for. But there was also fear. What if he wasn't good enough? What if his ideas weren't as groundbreaking as he believed? The next morning, Marcus woke up early, his nerves on edge. His mother, who had heard the news, was overjoyed for him, but could see the anxiety on his face. "You've got this, baby," Denise said, giving him a warm, reassuring hug. "Just be yourself. That's what got you this far." Marcus nodded, taking a deep breath as he prepared for the video call. He sat at his desk, glancing at the solar-powered purifier he had worked on for so long, the one that had been dismissed by so many. This is my chance, he thought. I can't waste it. When the moment arrived, Marcus clicked the link to join the virtual meeting. His heart was pounding in his chest as he waited for the screen to load. And then, there he was, Elon Musk, sitting in front of a clean, simple backdrop, wearing his familiar black shirt. "Marcus, I'm glad we could connect today," Musk said with a warm smile. "I've read your letter, and I'm impressed by your passion. I'd love to hear more about your solar-powered water purifier and what you've been working on." Marcus took a deep breath, his voice steady but filled with emotion. "Mr. Musk, I've been working on a solar-powered water purifier for communities that don't have access to clean water. It's made from recycled materials, and I believe it could change the lives of so many people who struggle with water scarcity." Musk listened intently, nodding as Marcus spoke. For the first time, Marcus felt like his words mattered. The conversation wasn't about his background or where he came from, it was about his ideas, his vision for a better world. "I can see the potential in your project," Musk said. "It's exactly the kind of innovation the world needs. We want to help you bring this idea to life." Marcus's heart soared. "You mean We can provide you with resources, mentorship, and a platform to scale your idea, Musk replied. But it's going to take hard work. Are you ready for that? Marcus's mind raced, but his answer came without hesitation. Yes, I'm ready. The meeting ended with promises of support and a clear path forward. As Marcus closed his laptop, he sat back in his chair, overwhelmed with emotion. This wasn't just a meeting with a famous entrepreneur, it was a life-changing moment. For the first time, Marcus felt that all the struggles, all the setbacks, and all the rejection he had faced had been leading to this moment, and he wasn't going to let it slip away. That night, Marcus called his mother to share the incredible news. Her voice broke as she tried to hold back tears. I always knew you were destined for something great, Marcus, she said, her voice filled with pride. This is just the beginning. In that moment, Marcus realized something profound. The world hadn't just changed for him. It had changed for everyone who ever doubted him, for every kid in his neighborhood who believed they couldn't make a difference. The road ahead wouldn't be easy, but Marcus was no longer alone. He had a chance, and he was determined to make it count. The days following the meeting with Elon Musk were a whirlwind. Marcus felt like his life had been flipped upside down, but in the best way possible. His inbox was flooded with emails, messages from people who had heard about the connection he'd made with Musk. The support was overwhelming, and for the first time, Marcus felt like he was standing at the edge of something extraordinary. He began working with a small team of engineers and innovators who Musk had assigned to guide him through the process of refining his solar-powered water purifier. At first, it was intimidating. Marcus was still a teenager, surrounded by professionals who had years of experience in their respective fields. He couldn't help but feel out of place, doubting his own ability to contribute in such an environment. But Musk had seen something in him, and that thought kept Marcus moving forward. The team helped Marcus improve the design of his purifier. They provided technical advice, suggesting materials that would make the device more efficient, more durable, and more affordable. But the heart of the project was still Marcus's, the vision he had of making clean water accessible to communities in need. He wasn't just building a product, he was building a solution that could change lives. As the weeks went by, Marcus spent long hours in the lab, his mind constantly racing with new ideas. He worked on the prototype, testing it under various conditions, and tweaking the design. His fingers became stained with ink and grease, his eyes red from the sleepless nights. But he didn't care. This was his chance to make a difference, and he wasn't going to waste it. It wasn't just the work that kept him motivated, it was the people he was helping along the way. He began receiving messages from people all over the world who had heard about his project. Many were living in areas affected by water scarcity, and they sent him notes of encouragement. Some even offered suggestions on how to improve the purifier, sharing insights from their own experiences with contaminated water. It was humbling to know that his work was touching lives in ways he never imagined. At school, Marcus began to see a shift in how people viewed him. No longer the quiet, overlooked student, he was becoming a symbol of perseverance. His classmates, many of whom had once ridiculed him for his dreams, started looking at him with a new sense of respect. It wasn't just because he was working with Elon Musk, it was because he had proven that determination, even against the odds, could lead to something extraordinary. One afternoon, after school, Marcus found himself in the principal's office again. This time, however, it wasn't for another rejection, it was an invitation. The principal, Mr. Harris, was standing behind his desk, a warm smile on his face. Marcus, Mr. Harris began, I just wanted to say how proud I am of you. What you've accomplished is beyond impressive, and I wanted to let you know that your story has inspired a lot of people here at school. We'd love to support your project however we can. For the first time, Marcus felt seen not just as a student, but as someone with the potential to change the world. The principal continued, we'd like to feature your project in the upcoming school assembly. If you'd be willing, we want to showcase what you've been working on and encourage other students to follow their dreams, no matter where they come from. Marcus was taken aback. He had never imagined that his journey would inspire others, especially not at his own school. But here he was, standing in front of his principal, knowing that his story could motivate others to believe in themselves, just as he had once been encouraged to believe. I'd be honored, Marcus replied, his voice steady but filled with emotion. As the day of the assembly approached, Marcus felt a mix of excitement and nervousness. Speaking in front of his peers was something he had never done before, and he wasn't sure if he was ready. But the thought of sharing his story, of inspiring others to follow their own dreams, gave him the courage he needed. On the day of the assembly, Marcus stood before a packed auditorium. His heart raced as he looked out at the sea of faces, teachers, students, and staff, many of whom had once doubted him. But now they were all here, eager to hear what he had to say. He cleared his throat, his voice echoing in the room. When I started this journey, I didn't think anyone would care. I didn't think I would be able to make a difference. But here I am today, not because of luck, but because I refuse to give up. And if I can do this, I believe that anyone can. As Marcus shared the details of his project and the incredible journey he had been on, he saw the faces in the crowd begin to change. There was a sense of awe in their eyes, a recognition that they were witnessing something truly special. Some students whispered to each other, others sat in stunned silence, but all of them were listening. After the assembly, Marcus received messages from more students, many of whom were inspired to start their own projects or pursue their own dreams, no matter how big or small. The impact of his story was undeniable. He had proven that one person, no matter their background or circumstances, could make a real difference. That evening, Marcus sat down with his mother again, reflecting on how far he had come. "I never thought this would happen, Mom. It's like a dream." Denise smiled, her eyes filled with pride. "Marcus, this is just the beginning. The world is going to see exactly what you're capable of." As Marcus looked ahead to the future, he knew that the road was still long. There would be challenges, setbacks, and moments of doubt. But he was no longer the young boy who had been overlooked and dismissed. He was a young man with a vision, and the world was starting to take notice. Despite the incredible progress Marcus had made, life wasn't always smooth sailing. As his project began to gain traction, the pressure mounted. He was juggling school, working on the water purifier project, and now giving speeches at school assemblies and local community events. The expectations were high, and for the first time in months, Marcus began to feel the weight of it all. One evening, as Marcus worked late into the night on the final stages of his water purifier design, a notification popped up on his phone. It was an email from one of the companies interested in manufacturing the purifier. Marcus's heart raced with excitement, but as he opened the message, his excitement quickly turned to confusion, then frustration. The email was a rejection. "We appreciate your innovative design," it read, "but after careful consideration, we've decided to move forward with another project. We wish you the best of luck in your future endeavors." For a moment, Marcus couldn't believe what he was reading. He put so much time, energy, and hope into this project, only to be shut down by a cold, impersonal email. His mind raced with doubt. Was he not good enough? Had his idea been too ambitious? Was this rejection a sign that he wasn't meant for this? He sat there for a while, staring at the screen, his hands trembling. The small voice in his head that had told him he could succeed now seemed distant, drowned out by the sting of disappointment. He thought about telling his mom, but he didn't want her to worry. She had always believed in him, and he didn't want to let her down. The next day, Marcus barely made it through school. His mind was consumed by the rejection. Even when his classmates congratulated him for the progress he'd made, he couldn't shake the feeling of failure. The assembly he had spoken at, the growing support for his project, it all felt meaningless now. That afternoon, Marcus retreated to his room, staring at his project prototype now sitting on his desk, seemingly mocking him. The purifier had been his hope, his dream. It was supposed to change the world. But now, it felt like a failure. In a moment of frustration, Marcus pulled the purifier apart, the tools in his hands moving mechanically as he took the device apart. He thought, maybe I'm not cut out for this. Maybe it's time to give up. But as he examined the parts of the purifier, something inside him shifted. He remembered the countless hours he'd spent perfecting the design, the emails from people who had shared their stories of how they had been inspired by his work. He thought of his community, who were still waiting for a solution to their water crisis. And then he thought about Elon Musk. Musk hadn't gotten to where he was by giving up at the first sign of failure. Marcus knew that. He'd heard Musk's own stories of setbacks, from failed rockets to public ridicule, but Musk had always pushed through. If Musk could keep going after so many failures, why couldn't he? Determined not to let this rejection define him, Marcus took a deep breath and began putting the prototype back together. He was going to refine it, improve it, and make it even better. This wasn't the end of his journey, it was just another hurdle to overcome. The next few days were a blur. Marcus dove back into his project, determined to make the purifier even more efficient and affordable. He reached out to some of his new contacts, the engineers who had been helping him, and together, they brainstormed ways to enhance the design. The setbacks weren't going to stop him. If anything, they made him more determined to succeed. One day, as he was working with his team, Marcus received a surprise phone call. It was from Elon Musk himself. Marcus Musk's voice crackled over the line. I heard about the rejection. Don't let it get to you. Everyone faces setbacks, even the biggest names in the industry. What's important is how you respond. You've already made a huge impact. And this is just a small bump in the road. Keep going. Marcus felt a sense of relief wash over him. Hearing Musk's words gave him the strength to push through his doubts. He wasn't alone in this. Musk, someone who had built entire empires, understood the struggle. I'm not giving up, Marcus replied, his voice steady. I'm going to make this work. That's the spirit, Musk said, his tone filled with encouragement. I'm excited to see what you do next. With that conversation, Marcus found the motivation he needed to keep moving forward. The rejection, instead of breaking him, had become a catalyst for growth. He had been given a chance to refine his design and make it even better. As the days passed, Marcus pushed himself harder. He worked late into the night, fine-tuning every detail of the purifier, taking every piece of feedback to heart. Slowly but surely, his persistence began to pay off. The breakthrough came when Marcus and his team finally created a version of the purifier that was more efficient, compact, and cheaper to produce. It was a game changer. With this new design, Marcus felt like he had not only improved his invention but had also proven to himself that failure was simply a stepping stone to success. And just when Marcus thought things couldn't get any better, another opportunity knocked. A major company, one that had initially rejected his idea, reached out again, this time with a partnership offer. They were impressed by the improvements he had made to his design and wanted to help him scale the purifier for global distribution. Marcus was stunned. What had started as a rejection had now turned into the opportunity of a lifetime. As he sat down to speak with the representatives of the company, he felt a sense of pride. This was the moment he had been working toward all along, and despite the setbacks, he had made it. The journey wasn't over, but Marcus knew now that no matter what came next, he was ready to face it with the same determination that had carried him through every challenge so far. After weeks of hard work and collaboration, Marcus had finally refined his water purifier fear to the point where he felt confident in its potential. But little did he know, his perseverance was about to be rewarded in a way he could never have anticipated. The partnership offer from the major company had set the stage for something much bigger. But before Marcus could sign the deal, something incredible happened. His story caught the attention of a global nonprofit organization that worked to provide clean water to underserved communities around the world. One afternoon, as Marcus sat in his room, sketching the final adjustments to his purifier, his phone buzzed with a notification. It was an email from a representative of the organization. The subject line read, "A game changer for global water crisis. Marcus, we need you." At first, Marcus thought it was just another marketing email, but as he opened it, his eyes widened in disbelief. "We've been following your work closely and are extremely impressed by the advancements you've made with your water purifier. We believe your invention has the potential to change lives, and we'd like to offer you an opportunity to partner with us in a global initiative to bring clean water to communities in need worldwide." Marcus stared at the email, his heart pounding. This was the moment he'd been waiting for, an opportunity to make an impact on a global scale. But as the excitement settled in, so did the pressure. This wasn't just about him anymore. It was about millions of people who lacked access to clean water, and Marcus knew he had to get it right. He took a deep breath and called his mom. "Mom, you won't believe this," he said, his voice shaky with excitement. "A global organization wants to partner with me. They think my purifier can change the world." "That's incredible, Marcus," she exclaimed, her voice filled with pride. "But remember, this is just the beginning. You've always had the potential to do something amazing. Don't forget to stay grounded and take it one step at a time." Her words gave Marcus the clarity he needed. This wasn't just about proving himself anymore. It was about making a lasting difference. He was no longer just a high school student working on a science project. He was becoming a part of something much bigger than himself. The next few days were a whirlwind. Marcus met with the organization's representatives to discuss the details of the partnership. They outlined their plans for a pilot program to test his purifier in rural areas of Africa and Southeast Asia, where access to clean water was a daily struggle. The organization promised to provide the resources necessary to scale the project, including funding, logistics, and expertise. As they spoke, Marcus could hardly contain his excitement. His invention, once a simple idea born out of a desire to help his community, was now poised to change the lives of millions of people across the globe. The scale of what he was about to embark on was overwhelming, but it also gave him a sense of purpose he had never known before. Still, there were moments of doubt. The weight of responsibility was immense. What if something went wrong? What if the purifier didn't work as well as expected in these new environments? The questions lingered in the back of Marcus's mind, but he refused to let fear stand in his way. He had come too far to back down now. As the months passed, Marcus and the global team worked tirelessly to refine the purifier and prepare for the pilot program. It was grueling, exhausting work, but Marcus pushed through, determined to make his invention a success. And then, the day arrived. The first batch of Marcus's purifiers was shipped out to rural communities in Africa. The team on the ground set up the devices and began distributing them to households that had never before had access to clean drinking water. The results were astonishing. People who had once relied on unsafe, contaminated water sources now had access to purified, safe drinking water. Families no longer had to worry about waterborne diseases, and children no longer had to miss school because of illnesses caused by contaminated water. The success of the pilot program was beyond Marcus's wildest dreams. The purifier was making a tangible difference, and people's lives were being transformed. But it wasn't just the recipients of the purifier who were impacted. Marcus began receiving letters and messages from people all over the world, messages of thanks, stories of how the purifier had changed lives, and heartfelt gratitude for his hard work and dedication. For the first time in his life, Marcus felt that the work he had done had a greater purpose. It wasn't just about success or recognition, it was about giving people a chance at a better life. In the midst of all the success, Marcus received another email that would forever change the course of his journey. It was from Elon Musk himself. Marcus, the email began, "I've been following your progress, and I'm truly amazed by what you've accomplished. Your work has the potential to change the world, and I want to help you take it to the next level. Let's talk about how we can collaborate and bring your vision to even more people around the world." Marcus couldn't believe what he was reading. Elon Musk, the person who had inspired him from the beginning, was now offering to help him scale his invention further. It was an opportunity that few people ever got, and Marcus knew that with Musk's support, his purifier could reach even more communities and save countless more lives. The news of the partnership with Musk sent shockwaves through Marcus's community. People couldn't believe that a young black teenager from a small neighborhood had achieved such an incredible feat. Marcus had become a symbol of hope and resilience, proving that one person, no matter their background, could make an extraordinary difference. As Marcus sat at his desk reflecting on the incredible journey he had taken, he couldn't help but smile. He had faced rejection, doubt, and setbacks, but through it all, he had remained focused on his mission. He had never given up, and now he was changing the world. His journey was far from over, but one thing was certain. Marcus had discovered his purpose, and nothing was going to stop him from achieving it. Marcus sat in a sleek conference room, the sound of clinking coffee cups and low chatter filling the air. He was surrounded by experts, engineers, and philanthropists from all over the world, gathered for the launch event of his water purifier on a global scale. The previous months had been a whirlwind of meetings, tests, and back and forth with the team supporting him. Now, as he looked out at the sea of faces waiting for him to speak, he felt an overwhelming sense of responsibility. This moment wasn't just about him, it was about the millions of lives that would be changed because of his invention. The audience in the room included some of the most influential people in the world, leaders in technology, business, and philanthropy. Marcus was about to stand before them and tell the world what he had created, an innovation that could solve one of humanity's most pressing crises, the lack of access to clean water. He took a deep breath, steadying his nerves. As he walked up to the podium, the room fell silent, and all eyes were on him. He looked out across the sea of faces and started his speech, his voice steady but filled with emotion. "I stand here today not as a young entrepreneur, not as someone who has made a breakthrough, but as a person who wants to make a real difference in the world. This purifier is not just an invention, it is a lifeline. A lifeline to millions of people who every day have to choose between contaminated water or no water at all. This purifier represents a future where every human being has access to clean, safe drinking water." The room remained silent, the weight of his words settling in. Marcus spoke about his journey, the struggles he faced, and the lessons he learned along the way. He talked about the communities that had already benefited from the purifier and the impact it had made. Then, Marcus shared a story that encapsulated the very reason he had worked so tirelessly. "When I first started, I was just a teenager trying to find a solution for my community. But over the months, I realized that this wasn't just about one community. This was about every person who struggles to access clean water no matter where they are in the world. I received a message from a mother in a village in Africa. She told me that because of the purifier, her children were no longer getting sick. They could finally go to school, eat, and live without the constant fear of waterborne diseases. She said, "You gave us hope. And that's what drives me every single day to give hope." As Marcus finished, the room erupted into applause. The impact of his words was clear, and the room was filled with admiration for the young inventor who had managed to achieve what many believed was impossible. But the real test was yet to come. After the speech, Marcus met with some of the biggest names in business, including Elon Musk. They discussed the next steps in scaling the purifier, ensuring that it could reach even more people in need. Elon, who had been impressed by Marcus's humility and focus, promised to help him navigate the complex world of manufacturing and distribution. With Musk's resources and expertise, Marcus's purifier could go from being a groundbreaking idea to a global solution. Elon smiled as they shook hands, saying, "Marcus, I've seen a lot of young innovators come through the door, but your passion and commitment are unlike anything I've seen before. Let's change the world together." That handshake marked the beginning of something even bigger. Over the next few months, Marcus and his team worked tirelessly to improve the purifier's efficiency and scalability. The partnership with Musk's companies opened up new opportunities, allowing them to use advanced technologies to refine the design, make it more affordable, and ensure that it could be easily deployed in remote areas. With the additional support, Marcus's invention was now ready to be distributed on a massive scale. The first large shipment of purifiers was sent to various countries, and soon, news outlets were picking up the story. What started as a small project by a teenager in a neighborhood struggling with water scarcity had become a global movement. In remote villages across Africa, Asia, and Latin America, people were receiving the purifiers. Families could now drink clean water without fear. Schools were reporting fewer absences due to illnesses related to contaminated water. The impact was immediate and profound. But it wasn't just the recipients who were affected. Marcus's story was inspiring millions around the world. His journey, one that started with a simple idea and a determination to make a difference, was proving that anyone, regardless of their background or circumstances, could change the world. As the world began to take notice, Marcus found himself becoming a symbol of resilience and hope. People from all walks of life reached out to him, telling him how his invention had not only changed their lives, but had also inspired them to believe in their own ability to make a difference. Marcus knew that this was just the beginning. The global stage he had stepped onto now held a world of opportunities, and he was determined to use his platform to continue advocating for clean water, education, and social justice. As he sat in his office, looking out at the world beyond, Marcus reflected on how far he had come. He had turned his passion into a purpose, and in doing so, he had become part of a movement much larger than himself. He wasn't just a teenager anymore. He was a changemaker, a global force for good. The purifier was no longer just a piece of technology. It was a symbol of hope, change, and possibility. And Marcus knew that this was just the start of his journey to transform the world, one purifier at a time. The global stage had welcomed Marcus with open arms, and his work had just begun. As he looked out over the horizon from his office, he felt a sense of peace, but also an overwhelming responsibility. The impact of his invention was already being felt worldwide, but Marcus knew this was only the beginning. There were still many challenges ahead. Marcus had become a symbol of change, and he was determined to ensure that his efforts didn't fade into the background. The water purifier was not just a solution for today, it was a foundation for tomorrow. As he continued his work, he was constantly thinking about how to expand and create more sustainable solutions for the world's most pressing issues. In the months that followed, Marcus was invited to speak at universities, forums, and international events, sharing his journey with others. Each event was an opportunity to inspire young people around the world, especially those from underprivileged backgrounds, to chase their dreams and create real, lasting change. One afternoon, Marcus received a letter that caught his attention. It was from a young girl named Naomi, living in a rural part of South Africa. She wrote about her struggles with waterborne diseases in her community and how her mother had passed away from such illnesses. Naomi's story was painful, but it was also one of resilience. She spoke of her hopes to one day become an engineer and create her own solutions to problems like the one her family faced. "Marcus," she wrote, "your purifier has not only saved lives in my community, it has given me the courage to pursue my dreams. I want to be like you. I want to change the world. Thank you for showing me that it's possible." The letter moved Marcus deeply. In that moment, he realized that his work wasn't just about the purifier, it was about planting seeds of hope in young people, especially those from communities that had been forgotten by the world. His invention was becoming a symbol not just of clean water but of possibility. Determined to honor Naomi and countless others like her, Marcus began to establish scholarships for students in underserved communities, particularly focusing on those pursuing careers in engineering and environmental sciences. He knew that the key to solving global problems was not just through inventions, but through the empowerment of the next generation of leaders. As he launched the Hope for the Future Scholarship Program, Marcus received overwhelming support from the global community. Donors, companies, and organizations rallied around the initiative, contributing funds and resources to help create educational opportunities for young people who were determined to change the world. The scholarship program became a beacon of light for those who had previously felt overlooked, a chance to provide education and opportunity to those who had the drive but not the resources. Naomi was one of the first recipients, and her story was featured in news outlets worldwide. She became a symbol of the ripple effect that Marcus's invention had created, a small act of kindness and innovation turning into a movement of transformation. Marcus's efforts weren't limited to scholarships, though. He also started working on building water infrastructure in rural areas, collaborating with governments and international organizations. He realized that in order for the purifier to have a lasting impact, it needed to be part of a larger solution, one that included sustainable practices, education, and a focus on long-term improvements in water access. Marcus worked tirelessly, traveling to remote parts of the world to ensure that communities not only had access to the purifier, but also received training on how to maintain and repair them. He wanted to make sure that these communities could continue thriving long after the initial aid had arrived. One day, Marcus found himself back in his old neighborhood. The streets that had once felt like a prison to him now seemed full of potential. He visited local schools where he spoke to young students, encouraging them to follow their dreams. He spoke to them about the power of education, perseverance, and the importance of caring for one another. During one of his visits, Marcus spoke to a class of middle schoolers. As he talked about his journey in the purifier, he noticed that one of the students was paying especially close attention. Her name was Maya, and she had a fire in her eyes that reminded him of himself when he was her age. After the presentation, she came up to him, asking questions about engineering and inventing. "I want to do what you did," Maya said. "I want to help people. I want to change the world." Marcus smiled warmly. "Maya, you already have the heart to make a difference. All you need now is the knowledge, and I believe you can get it. Don't ever give up on your dreams." Her words stuck with him. Marcus realized that while he had achieved so much, his true legacy would be the countless young people like Maya, Naomi, and the others who would follow in his footsteps. They were the future, and he had played a small part in guiding them toward their own greatness. As Marcus reflected on the journey that had brought him here, he realized that the purifier was only a starting point. The real change was in the hearts and minds he had touched. He had proven that one person, no matter their background, could create ripples of change that spread far beyond what anyone could have imagined. The next chapter of Marcus's life was not just about solving problems, it was about inspiring and empowering others to do the same. His work, his story, and his legacy would live on through the generations of young people who saw in him the possibility of a better world. And with that, Marcus continued his work, knowing that the impact he had made would resonate for generations to come. His purpose was clear: to leave the world better than he found it, and to inspire others to do the same. Marcus had always believed that change could start with a single person, but as his journey progressed, he realized that real change required something deeper, a collective effort. Despite his success and growing influence, Marcus found himself facing a new, unexpected challenge. His mission to bring clean water to underprivileged communities was threatened by powerful forces. One day, Marcus was at a meeting with a group of potential investors, where they discussed expanding his water purifier for technology to even more regions in need. The conversation had been going well, and Marcus was feeling optimistic about the future. But as the discussions deepened, he started noticing a shift in the tone of the conversation. A well-dressed businessman named Richard, a key figure in the meeting, raised concerns. "I don't think this will be profitable enough for us," Richard said, his voice cold. "We're talking about remote areas, communities that may not even have reliable infrastructure. The margins are too slim." Marcus felt a knot tighten in his stomach. It was a familiar scenario. The business world was often driven by profit, and many investors simply weren't interested in helping people if they couldn't see a clear financial return. But Marcus knew that if he stopped now, millions of lives would continue to suffer. "I understand your concerns," Marcus replied, trying to remain calm. "But this isn't just about profit. It's about making a difference. People's lives are at stake. I'm not in this for the money, I'm in this to create lasting change. Richard scoffed, dismissing Marcus's words. You're not going to change the world with charity projects. There's no way this is sustainable without a more substantial return. You'll lose investors if you keep this up. Marcus's heart sank. It wasn't the first time he had heard this kind of resistance. For every success, there were forces trying to shut him down, discredit him, or lead him off course. He knew that in order to succeed, he would have to fight harder than ever before, not just for his invention, but for the communities that depended on it. The tension in the room was palpable as Marcus weighed his options. He could walk away, accept the easy route, and let his vision of changing the world fade into the background. Or he could take a stand and risk losing everything. The decision weighed heavily on him, but deep inside, he knew what he had to do. I'm not giving up, Marcus said, his voice steady and firm. This purifier has the potential to change millions of lives, and I won't let greed stand in the way of that. The room fell silent. Some of the investors exchanged uncomfortable glances, while others seemed to be reconsidering their positions. But Marcus didn't waver. He had come too far to turn back now. As the meeting adjourned, Marcus walked out with a heavy heart but an unwavering spirit. He knew that standing up for his principles wasn't going to be easy. It would cost him more than just financial backing, it would cost him relationships, opportunities, and the comfort of knowing he could have taken the easier route. But Marcus didn't believe in easy. The weeks that followed were a test of Marcus's resolve. The media began to question his motives. Critics painted him as an idealist who was chasing unrealistic dreams, while others speculated that his success was a fluke. He was attacked online, with people accusing him of wasting resources and pushing an agenda that didn't align with the world's economic realities. It was a lonely time for Marcus. The weight of responsibility was crushing, and doubts crept into his mind. Was he being naive? Were the sacrifices worth it? But even in the darkest moments, he drew strength from the countless people whose lives had been touched by the purifier. The letters, messages, and stories from people around the world reminded him why he started this journey in the first place. One day, as Marcus sat in his office reviewing his plans for the next phase of the project, he received an unexpected call. It was from Naomi, the young girl from South Africa who had sent him the letter years ago. Marcus, I need to thank you, Naomi said, her voice full of emotion. Your purifier changed everything for my community. People are healthier. They're thriving. But it's not just about the water. It's about hope. You gave us hope. Marcus was speechless. He had heard so many stories of success, but hearing Naomi's voice again reminded him of the true power of his work. It wasn't just about technology, it was about the lives he had touched, the hope he had inspired, and the change he had sparked. Thank you, Naomi, Marcus replied, his voice thick with emotion. I needed to hear that today. It was in that moment that Marcus realized something profound. The ripple effect he had started was far more powerful than any challenge he faced. His work had already impacted so many people, and it would continue to grow, whether or not the critics and investors believed in him. And then, as if on cue, Marcus received a call from one of his most supportive investors, a woman named Sarah, who had been with him from the beginning. She told him that despite the challenges, she believed in him and his mission. We're with you, Marcus. We're not giving up, Sarah said, her voice full of conviction. We'll help you take this to the next level. Together we can make it happen. That phone call was the turning point. With renewed determination, Marcus pressed on. He wasn't just fighting for clean water or for a single invention, he was fighting for something much bigger, a movement that could inspire others to act, to make a difference, and to stand up against adversity. In the coming months, Marcus's supporters rallied around him. People from all walks of life, from small communities to global organizations, began coming together, driven by the shared belief that they could make the world a better place. Investors who had once doubted him returned, inspired by the outpouring of support and the undeniable impact of his work. Marcus's belief in the power of people, their resilience, their ability to unite for a cause greater than themselves was vindicated. The purifier not only became a symbol of technological innovation, but also of the strength of humanity in the face of adversity. By the end of the year, Marcus had secured the resources needed to expand his work even further. His company had grown, his network had expanded, and his reach had extended to even more communities in need. The battles he faced had only strengthened his resolve. As he sat at his desk, looking over the plans for the future, Marcus realized that the greatest test he had faced was not just overcoming challenges in the business world. It was about staying true to his values, fighting for what he believed in, and trusting that the ripple effect of his work would create a wave of change. The purifier was just one part of the story. The real transformation was happening in the hearts and minds of those who believed, just as he did, that change was possible. As Marcus stood on the stage at the Global Innovation Conference, addressing an audience that spanned continents, he couldn't help but reflect on the incredible journey that had brought him here. The world now saw him as a symbol of hope, a beacon for those who had once been forgotten, the underprivileged communities across the world who were now drinking clean water because of his work. But Marcus's story was not just one of success. It was the story of resilience in the face of adversity, a journey that proved time and again that standing up for what's right, even in the face of overwhelming odds, can lead to profound change. As he looked out over the sea of faces in the auditorium, he thought about the countless people who had supported him, people like Naomi, Sarah, and so many others who had stood by him when it felt like the world was against him. He had come so far, yet it still felt like there was so much more to do. Marcus had never been one to sit back and rest on his laurels. He knew that there were still millions of people who lacked access to clean water, and that his work was far from over. But in this moment, as he prepared to deliver the keynote address that would solidify his place in history, Marcus had an overwhelming sense of gratitude. He thought back to the early days when his idea was nothing more than a sketch on a piece of paper. He had started with a dream, a belief that he could make a difference. It hadn't been easy. There had been moments when he doubted himself, when he wondered if the road he was on was worth the sacrifice. The countless nights he had spent working late, the constant battle against investors who didn't share his vision, and the moments of self-doubt, it all felt far behind him now. But Marcus knew that none of this would have been possible without the people who believed in him, the ones who saw the potential in his idea when no one else did. His success was not just his own. It was the result of a collective effort, a community of like-minded individuals who shared his passion for creating a better world. As he took the stage, the room erupted into applause. He smiled, grateful for the recognition, but his mind was focused on something deeper. This moment wasn't about him, it was about the people who would benefit from his work for years to come. The communities in Africa, South America, and Asia where children would grow up healthier, where families would no longer have to walk miles for clean water, where entire communities could flourish without the threat of waterborne diseases. "This is not just my victory," Marcus began, his voice strong and steady. "This is a victory for all of us. For the people who believed in me when no one else did. For the families in places like South Africa, India, and the Philippines who are now living without the constant fear of illness, because they have access to clean water. For every child who now has a chance at a better future. This is a victory for humanity." The crowd stood in silence, moved by his words. Marcus felt a surge of emotion, but he continued, determined to share the message that had driven him from the beginning. "It wasn't easy, and there were times when I wanted to give up," Marcus confessed. "But I realized something important. We are all connected. Our struggles are intertwined, and we rise and fall together. The success of this project, of this mission, is not just about providing clean water. It's about proving that no matter where you come from, no matter what obstacles you face, you can make a difference. And when you do, it has the power to change the world." The room was silent for a moment before the applause erupted again. Marcus felt the weight of his words sinking in, knowing that what he had said wasn't just a speech, it was a call to action. His mission had always been about more than just providing clean water. It had always been about inspiring others to take action, to believe in the possibility of change, and to know that no dream was too big if they were willing to fight for it. As the applause faded, Marcus concluded, "We all have the power to create change. It's up to us to decide whether we will stand by and watch, or whether we will step forward and be the change. My journey may have started with a simple idea, but that idea has turned into something much bigger than I ever imagined. And I'm not done yet." In the weeks that followed, Marcus's work began to expand at an unprecedented pace. Governments, NGOs, and other organizations took notice of the success of his purifier, and partnerships began forming across the globe. What had started as a small, isolated project was now a worldwide movement, with thousands of communities benefiting from his innovation. Marcus never lost sight of the communities he had set out to help. As his company grew, he continued to funnel resources back into the projects that were making the most impact, ensuring that the people who had supported him from the very beginning remained at the center of his mission. His story became a blueprint for others, proof that one person's vision, when fueled by passion and supported by others, could spark a revolution. It wasn't just about the technology, the financial backing, or the publicity. It was about the heart of the mission, making a difference. Marcus's legacy lived on in the communities that thrived thanks to his work. The children who no longer had to walk miles for water, the families who no longer had to bury loved ones because of preventable diseases, and the countless people who had seen the impossible become possible, these were the true measure of his success. As Marcus looked out over the world he had helped change, he knew one thing for certain: his journey wasn't just about making a name for himself. It was about something far greater, the legacy of hope, resilience, and the unshakable belief that, no matter who you are or where you come from, you can make the world a better place. And in the end, that was the most important thing of all.